reparations, you call it ignorant?
No, because you don't.
What makes you think you have a right to my birthright? Why are you even talking to me about it?
So why do you feel like I can't talk to you about it?
Because you really have no claim to it. So if you're not contributing to the conversation and you're not helping and you're down to me, you should really shut the fuck up.
Because I'm African, I don't have a claim to it.
What you mean you don't? It's called American Descendants of Slaves, my G.
I was born in Texas.
My G, it's called American Descendants of Slaves. Your parents are not American descendants of slaves.
Hello?
Your parents are from Africa, correct?
Yes.
That means you have they didn't pick no cotton here. They wasn't brought over here in fucking slavery. They just got over here in last generation. What the fuck are you talking about? You just gonna turn this into whatever the fuck you want to? So, why are you trying to disrespect my birthright?
So allow me to respond to that. The people you're talking about, a large part of them were African.
Okay.
And they had children who are descendants of those Africans.
American descendants of slaves. What are you f***ing dumb? Do you understand the word American slavery here?
Absolutely.
Are you f***ing stupid now?
So
have you lost a fucking noggin?
The foundational people are crazy. Let's just start there. It is an act of desperation to call yourself anything other than what you are. Why are you always looking to be called something else? We are a rich culture. We are a beautiful culture. And when you have a high cultural self-esteem, then you go anywhere in the world, and it is not reductive to be in proximity to anyone else. I never feel small in Nigeria. When I leave Nigeria, I even feel more full. You know what I'm saying? Because I can see so many similarities. I can embrace the Nigerian national culture, but also all the ethnicities within it for its each individual beauty. It makes me feel fuller. Yeah. Do you understand? Yeah. And when you have that high, just like cultural self-esteem, right? It just makes it so much easier. So I don't subscribe to this whole foundational Black American, the Hotep, the Sulan, the flag, all this. What's wrong with being African American?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're trying to take the African out of it because you're anti-African, because you're xenophobic.
Yo, so we back in here for another edition of F-ya-Motha, and it's another fucking tether talking about how somebody is xenophobic, and we're not trying to take the African out of shit. Some of us don't have deep roots and are not of African genetics, right? Or African culture. People are fucking idiots. If you recall vividly, Malcolm X spoke about the African and the fucking Aboriginal. There was a reason he made a distinction between the two. He could have just said African people in America. The reason he said Aboriginal, because just like Australia has the Aboriginal native population, so does America. Everybody you see in America with brown skins ain't necessarily a descendant of an African. I have an auntie. I think if I can find the picture, I'll pull her up. She had no white, she wasn't biracial. She was fair skinned. She did not have a phenotype of an African. She came from Alabama. Nobody in my family or her family look African. Now, me personally, right? My mother is biracial. This particular mother had the same father as my mother, or the same mother as my mother, had different fathers, right? She was entirely black. She didn't have a white father. She didn't look African in the least bit. So this whole notion that somehow we're trying to neglect being African, man, everybody in America are not African descendants. That's a fact. If you look at the Library of Congress records of Africans that were shipped here as quote unquote cargo, yes, they did document and keep records of their quote unquote equipment, right? If you read history books, Africans that were brung here were looked at as cattle or equipment or farm tools. Therefore, they had receipts. They put loans on these motherfuckers. They put insurance on them. A lot of people think that a lot of murder happened on plantations, right, where a slave master actually killed his slave. They actually had passed laws because slave masters' wives would actually kill slaves, and they didn't want them to bear consequences. However, it wasn't beneficial in an economic sense to actually murder your slave, so because it was a tool. So they kept records and they put insurance on them. You can look these up. Out of the 30 million Africans that were trafficked here in the transatlantic slave trade, only 3% actually made it here. It's roughly about 300,000. Actually, probably less than that, but I'll just ballpark it to a round number, 300,000. You don't believe that America was just this barren land. I know they said that colonists and the Spaniards came here to the free world. They came here to the free world because they were persecuted and or imprisoned in the place that they came from. So being shipped here or coming here set them free. But there were people fucking here, and they weren't red natives only. Now, I'm not going to neglect that there weren't red natives, people of Siberian and Asiatic genetics that crossed over the Bering Strait, but there were also Aboriginal people that were here, that were dark-skinned and indigenous to this landmass. The term Native American wasn't coined until roughly about 1970, and the only reason that you see those fair-skinned Native Americans on the reservation is because white settlers had paid $5 to be on the Dawes Rolls log. That's why, right? Centuries of commingling. You got people that are on the reservation that look like Justin Timberlake or Elizabeth Warren. These motherfuckers got 1/16 of genetics from the Siberian people in their blood. Those are just a portion of the people that were here that were indigenous. There were also dark-skinned people. If you look at early pictures of Native Americans when photography was invented in around the 1830s, they're darker than me. That's what a black person is, right? Not necessarily a person from Africa. This whole misnomer that only black motherfuckers from Africa or come from Africa is a misnomer. There are people that come out of Guatemala, people in Iceland. Hell, one of the dudes from Milli Vanilli was fucking, what was he, Belgian or German? I think it was darker than me. Black Englishmen, black Irish. There are people that are indigenous to Scotland that were black. Black people were all around this planet, not just in fucking Africa. Now that may be the place that we came out of, and even when it was pre slave trade or transatlantic slave trade, it wasn't even called Africa. Africa is actually a Roman word coming from Serpico Africanus. So what the fuck are we talking about? This woman sounds crazy. And she's not even black American. She's fucking Nigerian. And I'm sorry to people that have come from another country or another continent tell us the fucking history. Look, just because you believe the watered down Kool-Aid that they sold your ass when you came here and went to public school don't mean that we gotta accept it, right? We said what we are. Now Salon is something that, yeah, black people want to coin a term. African American was popularized by Jesse Jackson in 1988. That was only to find a connection between black slaves that were brung here and the black people here, right? He had to give us a name, right? Which in turn turned us into a fucking subculture. Sort of like Asian American or Latin American. Not only that, we want to change the name, we can do that. Nobody had a fucking problem when Latin people want to change their name from Latinos to Latinx. Right? And because black people haven't had a definitive ethnicity in this country, just a racial category, yeah, we're making a distinction between us and Nigerians, us and Ugandans, us and Ghanaians, us and people from Senegal or South Africa or wherever the fuck, Tanzania. You know, we're making a distinction between us and Somalians, Sudanese people, Egyptians. We're making a distinction between us and Ethiopians, Eritreans, right? Everybody can have different ethnicities. When it comes to us, we got to be fucking flat black. And we got to encompass all you motherfuckers, right? Nobody says that to Haitians, Brazilians, Jamaicans, and so on and so forth. It's just black people that got to identify with Africa. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't some black people that are descendants of African slaves, right? But there were people here that were dark skinned, right? Christopher Columbus spoke on them. The conquistadors wrote about them. Juan del Guanape wrote about them. Hernan Cortez wrote about them. Who else? Which, if you don't know, Hernan Cortez is the father of Mexicans, right? Before 1522, there wasn't no such thing as a Mexican. Who else? There was a bunch of explorers that came here. Daniel Boone. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. Hell, Christopher Columbus in the Caribbean islands spoke on black-skinned people that reminded him of the Indian people. Every fucking settler that came here in 1619, they called them Indians because they resemble people from India, right? Which is a misnomer because the Native Americans weren't fucking Indian. Hence the West Indies. They called it the West Indies because fucking people resembled the people in India. And if you look at the people in India, while they don't like to identify as racially or ethnically black, motherfuckers darker than me with straight hair. That's a black person. Might have a different culture, but black is black. And while we do have some of us do share African genetics, right? Everybody around the planet shares African genetics. People from fucking Iceland have African genetics. They got Europeans and KKK members that have took a DNA test, and these niggas got African DNA, like 20-30%. What are we saying here? Culturally, we're not African. Ethnically, we're not African. Maybe genetically, but that could be a claim that could be stated for everybody around the planet. So this whole notion that we're crazy, no, you're just misinformed. You don't know history, especially ours, and you should probably stay out of it if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Once again, this goes back to everybody don't need a microphone doing a podcast saying what the fuck they feel that's not confirmed or backed by any facts. In any event, and by the way, FBA is sticking. Just deal with it. It is what it is. If you like this episode, been enlightened, educated, all that jazz, like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to support the machine, hit the link so that you can purchase some merch and I can give you more content even more frequently. Or at the very least, just hit the damn like button to put me in the algorithm, and I'm out.